Welcome back, everyone. On the doorstep of a great high school football weekend. Starts tonight in Minnesota. State quarterfinal games all over the place. Tomorrow in North Dakota, the 3A and 2A semifinals will kick off. We've got a pair of games we're going to be televising. We'll also be keeping an eye on the game out in Minot tomorrow. It's a rematch of a game played earlier this season as Minot will take on Davies. The winner of that will play the winner of the Bismarck-Cheyenne game, which you'll see tomorrow at 7 o'clock on WDAY+. Our pleasure to welcome back to the show Fargo Davies head football coach Wayne Werremeyer joins us as the Eagles get set, head out on the road to take on Minot. I was saying this, and I can't believe it, just how good you guys have been, but I'm sure you know this. It's been a decade since Davies played in the Dakota Bowl. That's what's on stake, but I'll start with this, that Is this the hardest game to win? The game to get you there, not the actual game. I always feel like, is this the toughest one?
Really think it is, and unfortunately we've come up short the last couple of years, and I was here 10 years ago, and that was an absolute blast of a run that those kids went on. I think the hardest thing about this weekend is it might be over. You know, if you make the championship, you know when it's going to be over. But just the emotional swings you've got this week, that, you know, one team's riding high and flying out of there, and the other team is the spirits are absolutely crushed because you've got to put the pads away, and it's competitive, it's intense. And yeah, it's a dogfight.
So I dug up this stat. This is crazy. You've actually thrown the ball 51 times. I would have had the under over like 20. Tell me about your offensive strategy this year, knowing the kind of offensive line and the backs that you had. Like this is how we're going to win football games this year.
No, I was a little upset at you last week. I was watching, you talked to Todd Sheldon. You said we never throw. And so I had to look at my stats too. And there was one game we threw the ball 15 times, which was about a third of what we've thrown this year. So, call me old fashioned, but we're a run first team. And we were talking just a little bit off the air. Our offensive line is good. Yeah. It's one of the better O-lines. We had a really good O-line on that 2014 team. With Gunnar Coleman and Jacob West and Cody Fry. But, you know, these kids, if you put their weight room numbers on the board with those kids in the 2014 team, you know, they're right there. So, Matt Veit's my coworker, and he talks about my offensive strategy. He always says it's like maple syrup. We just kind of drizzle the ball down the field, and we'll take our 3 yards, and we'll take our 4 yards. He's like, all the other teams, they want to have hot butter in the pan, and they just want to, fly. And you guys are content just to plug. So we tell our kids 3 yards is a good play. And if we need 30 plays to score a touchdown, we can get 3 apiece. That's fun football to me.
Was that something you realized during fall camp, or just knowing your personnel heading into this season, like this is a winning formula for us?
No, I think it started in the middle of last year. We looked at last year. I don't quote me on the record, but we were something like 2-4 or 1-3, and we had just gotten back from Minot, and we tried to throw the ball something like 25, 30 times, and I love the heck out of our quarterback last year, but he threw, I think, 5 fade balls onto the track. I'm talking flew over the other sideline, onto the track, and we just took a look, and we're like, we don't have the personnel to run what we had. 3, 4, 5 years ago. And so we put our heads together, and fortunately or unfortunately, I coached against a power T when I was in Moorhead, when Elk River brought it to Minnesota. And it was a bear. I remember, and I don't have much hair left, but I remember pulling my hair out, trying to figure out how the heck are we going to stop these guys. And so I actually pulled up some of that old film, and we just kind of made it up last year. And then we spent a lot of time this year talking to a lot of coaches that run the power T, and Tyler Quinlan out of Cannon Falls has been an absolute great resource for me, and a lot of those other coaches too. But so we kind of learned how to run it this year, and I think we're running a lot more effective this year, and kids bought into it, we bought into it, and this is who we are.
Your son Malachi is having an unreal year. 1,700 yards, 29 touchdowns. Just describe what his production obviously has meant a lot, but what has he done that maybe has surprised you this year?
The patience he's shown. We're smash mouth football, but we're not necessarily, slam it down the gap right away. He does a great job sitting behind the offensive line and waiting for the hole to open up. Tim Fletcher, who I played college football with, D coordinator Century, came over to me after the game. He's like, we knew who was going to get the ball. We just couldn't see him. He just sat back there and hid behind the offensive line, and then all of a sudden he pops out. So he's done a really nice job at that. And defensively, he's been, I think, playing well. My favorite touchdown of his all year was the pick six against Shanley, and just the amount of people we had downfield blocking for him, and it's special. It's fun to be around him.
We televised this game, a smash mouth game with, you talk about smash mouth, a 3-0 high school football game. I don't think we've been televising games, Wayne, for 11 years. I never had a game not have a touchdown. You knew that was going to be a battle, but that even surprised you how that turned out?
Fortunately, we forgot to score a touchdown. Forgot how to score touchdowns in that game, and Cheyenne came out with a really good plan. We put the ball on the ground 8 times. This isn't making excuses. They beat us, right? So call a spade. But we put the ball on the ground 8 times that game and lost 4 of them. Oh. 7 of the times we put the ball on the ground, we didn't get hit. We just dropped the football. I hope it was a learning experience. It was a big game. We had a lot of kids playing in a big game for the first time.
Yeah,
a lot of juniors. I hope they learned. We'll find out on Friday night if they learned. But Cheyenne's got a really, really good football team, and so does Minot, and so does Bismarck, and there's so much parity right now in AAA.
Tell us about this trip. You're going out to Minot tomorrow. You're 9-1 on the year. You guys played them earlier this season. Another bloodbath there. You won 17-10. What about trip 1 can you use for going out there again for tomorrow night?
Well, the schedule, it's just a repeat. We're leaving at the same time. We're stopping at the same spot. We're eating the same food. We're wearing the same clothes. We're superstitious people at a point. But what I told the kids this week, it was successful the first time. Why are we going to change stuff? I'm not smart enough to change things. I think what we learned is Minot is a tough place to play. Minot's always been a tough place to play. The travel is long. The fans are a little bit crazy out there. They love their Minot High football. Their coaches are great coaches. Their players are great players. But we did learn if we line up and play, we got a shot. So that's what we're going to go for. Knowing
full well they're the defending champs as well. Does it need any more? And you don't need any more added ammo for tomorrow. But how much is that for your players knowing this? Okay, this is the team that won it. They're trying to go back to back.
To be honest, Tom, we haven't talked about it with the kids. Last year's last year. They have a different team. We have a different team. What we have talked about the kids is the experience. That they do have that experience on their side. They know what it's like to win a semi-football game. We don't know what it's like to win a semi-football game. So we've talked about effort's got to overcome that. We've got to play 48 minutes as hard as we can and look up and see how we do.
I've asked different coaches this week about a quick start, a fast start. Do you need a 3-and-out, or for you guys a methodical drive and score a touchdown? Is that necessary, you think, tomorrow night, or no?
Well, sure would help. I don't know if it's necessary. The first time we went up and played Minot, we did get a 3-and-out, and they actually only had, I think maybe we had the ball first, but they only had 3 plays in the first quarter.
Wow.
And that's awesome. I mean, my D coordinator's like, gosh, I love calling plays when I don't have to call plays. Last week, Mandan took the ball, and they went on a 6.5-minute drive and put the ball in the end zone on us. We only had 2 possessions in the first half against Mandan last week. Yeah. So we need to score when we have the football. I think that's the necessary thing.
Do your games take like an hour and 10 minutes the way you run the ball?
Well, not when we play teams like Shanley or Mandan that like to run around and chuck it. I was talking to Gibby from Bismarck last week, and I said if we do match up, that might be an hour and 20-minute full game.
I'll let our producer know if we have to fill it if the game ends at after 7:30 next Friday.
Put your $high commercials first, I guess.
I got to ask. Obviously, with one son you're playing. Obviously, Truman's had a dynamite year at NDSU. He's got the ball 5 times. They've used him pretty well. What have you heard from him and his experience with Coach Polasek this year?
No, he loves it. He loves NDSU. I think the coolest thing about NDSU is I feel like, as a preferred walk-on coming onto the team, he's been treated as well as Cole Payton, who's obviously, I call him Golden Boy, and he was Truman's roommate for several years. So I've gotten to know Cole, but I feel like they've been treated the same. And I think that's really, really cool from a program that, the probably your last kid that got to get an offer to come to fall camp, and probably your first kid that got to get an offer to come come to fall camp. Those coaches do a great job just coaching football and raising young men.
How much, in your mind, has his wrestling background helped him to play fullback in Division I football?
I think wrestling helps anybody, and I know I might be in the minority, but it toughens you physically. It definitely toughens you mentally. I think it helps you be a good husband, a good employee, a good football player, good baseball player. Whatever you want to be. I think it's a one of a kind sport.
Why do you think that? What's the attributes in that that would help you in those other spots?
Yeah, first of all, it's one-on-one. You can't look to a teammate to bail you out. No one else is going to make a free throw for you. No one else is going to make a pass or a goal or anything like that. It's one-on-one, and it's such a physical sport that there's times it's okay to say, I'm going to be pinned here. I'm not going to break an arm. I'm going to, so there's decisions you have to make. And then the other thing, people ask me about it, and I say, if you're up 42-6 in a football game in the fourth quarter, you're probably going to win, even if you give up a pick six. And obviously we wouldn't throw the ball, but other teams might. But if you're up 14-0 in wrestling and you get caught, you get pinned, you lose.
Yep.
And you walk off that mat saying, I beat the snot out of this kid, but I still lost. So, it just teaches you, I think, so many lessons as far as work ethic and perseverance and respect for your opponent, respect for everybody, that I think it's a cool sport.
That's good stuff. My last question, do you have like the Newt Rockne speech tomorrow before the game? Do you have something saved? Or do you not even need to say anything inspirational because it's what's at stake?
I usually think about what I'm going to say when I go into the locker room about 2 minutes before I go into the locker room, and it's usually probably not earth-shattering to anybody. Try to get the kids rah-rahed up a little bit. Usually we talk about winning the line of scrimmage, and it's not going to be anything that you probably haven't heard before. I try to keep the cuss words down to a little bit of a minimum because we are high school coaches and high school play. One might slip out every now and then, but the kids are great kids. Kids know what they have to do. It's not going to be secret to anybody. How we got to go win that football game tomorrow.
I'm looking here, by the way. It's going to be 50 degrees tomorrow in Minot on November 8th. That's I don't know. You probably want it to be rain and crazy way you play offensively, no?
Yeah, I was actually talking as coaches yesterday. Last year we went out to Bismarck in the quarters, and it was probably the coldest football game I've ever been part of. I think it was like 5 degrees real feel at kickoff, and I probably had 16 layers on that I could hide. I was like the guy in the Christmas story. I couldn't even go to the bathroom because I couldn't take my coat off. And then we had a snowball fight last year in practice between the quarters and the semis, just because the kids were so squirrely. They were like, fine, 5 minutes, throw snowballs at each other, and then we'll actually start practice. The weather this year it's something. It's unbelievable.
You might be wearing shorts tomorrow, right?
Yeah, well, my D coordinator might.
I know
I'll
that.
Still probably be in long johns.
It's great to see you, bud. Thanks so much for the time. Safe travels to Minot, and good luck tomorrow night.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.
Wayne Werremeyer, head coach of the Davies Eagles. Davies in Minot tomorrow. That's one of the 3A semifinals. The winner of that will get the winner of the Cheyenne and Bismarck game. And that'll be the 3A championship next Friday at the Dome at 6:30. So you've got the possibilities here. You can have an all-West final. We haven't had that in a few years. We used to have that every year in the 3A game. You could have Bismarck-Minot, and they have played some doozies. You could have a Bismarck championship game against Davies. That'd be all right. As Wayne said, the game might take 45 minutes, but that'd be a heck of a game. Or you could have a Cheyenne-Minot game. They've played a couple of doozies as well. Last year they played an absolutely thrilling game in the semis. Minot won that on its road to the championship. Or you could have an all-East final with Cheyenne and Davies. And I know for certain people on the south side of town and the newer part, the south side of West Fargo, they would certainly like that opportunity. So we'll see. Going to be dynamite. Can't wait to see what happens in those games coming up tomorrow. That's the 3A semifinals, and we'll bring you the Bismarck Cheyenne game. That'll be on WDAY Plus tomorrow night. We'll break. Got a few more emails to get to before we wrap up our first hour. Big second hour on tap here on this Thursday. Hot Mic rolls on. We're back right after this.